Before we jump into the podcast, I wanted to let you know that today's episode is sponsored by Search Intelligence. Here's a short clip of Ferry from Search Intelligence showing you how their agency built digital PR links to a client's website.
This is how we landed massive links for our client in The Sun, a DR90 website, and many other UK news websites. We have used freely available data from YouGov to simply find out what the nation's favorite car brand is and which brands people love the most. Of course, Rolls-Royce came out on top, Aston Martin second, and Jaguar third. We put these insights in a short email and sent it to journalists that write about cars and to national news desks on behalf of our client. Within a few days, our client got featured in all the Suns, as well as many regional newspaper sites in the UK, gaining DR90 links to their leasing comparison website. YouGov website is full of unlimited PR stories with data already available for free. All you have to do is to start researching their data and start asking the data questions. You will be surprised of the unlimited PR campaigns that you will find there that can help you build massive exposure and links to your or your clients' websites. I hope this video is helpful and inspirational.
If you want similar link building PR campaigns for your website, head to search-intelligence.co.uk and get in touch with them now. All right, welcome back to another week in Niche Pursuits News. My name is Jared Bauman, and I'm one of your hosts today. Today we're joined by Kaitlin Cam. Welcome.
Hi, I'm glad to be here. This is fun.
Good to have you. It's funny because, normally it's Spencer and I hosting the weekly news. Spencer's out this week. And so when one of us is out, we tend to find another co-host. Many won't know you, but you're my business partner and a co-founder at 201 Creative. So a lot of experience in the digital marketing and online world. But why don't you give just the listeners a little bit of background before we dive into this week's topics?
Yeah. Well, so as you mentioned, I am your business partner. We co-founded 201 Creative together, but our history goes back even further than that, actually starting at your photography company. I was an intern there back in college and got to learn just all of, how to run a photography business, and got to do all the editing for your studio at the time. Had a blast doing that. And then after college, realized, I need a real job now. And found out, hey, you actually own a photo editing company also in San Diego. And found my way into that job and worked for your company there. I was like the QC manager and then, or quality control manager. Sorry, I still have all the the acronyms and everything. But we then realized that that company needed a marketing department, and you were heading that up, and you asked me if I wanted to build that from the ground up with you, fully realizing that I had zero marketing experience at all because I was an art major in college. So we took the leap together, built the marketing team, and grew that really well. And once, we both kind of left at different times there, and then worked building up 201 Creative. And so now I'm here.
The best marketers are typically the ones that don't come from a marketing background. That's what I've found over the years. You have a lot of experience over, especially a lot of the online processes and marketing efforts we built over there with email marketing, process management, instituting marketing measures at scale and stuff. So it'll be great to have your perspective along on this. Kaitlin handles most of the operations at the agency that we run. So a lot of what we'll talk about today in the news and other perspectives you have, it'll be interesting to hear what you think coming from a specifically like operational focus. So.
Yeah, I'm excited for this. I've heard you and Spencer do this before. Full disclosure, I listened to a couple. I was a little nervous because I was like, man, you guys bring such good perspectives and insights and come at it from a different direction than I typically would. But I'm excited to be here and kind of go through some of the news and what's going on in SEO today.
Well, good. Let's go ahead and dive into our first news episode or first news event of the week. And every week we go through this where we got to figure out how to share our screen. And so I'm going to go ahead and bring that up here. And of course, it always loads it out of order, but there it is. Okay, I think I got it figured out. So the first news of the week, and probably one of the bigger ones, is that ChatGPT and Bing are integrated now with each other. And so basically, we've used, and this is big news. We'll kind of go through it, but basically, we've been using ChatGPT in the ChatGPT window. You'll go to the OpenAI ChatGPT window. You'll use that as a prompt, and then obviously Bing does incorporate some facet of ChatGPT, but now the two are integrated together. And so I think one thing to note is that Bing is powered by Microsoft's Prometheus, and so what we're starting to see now is current results in Bing, whereas that's kind of one of the big knocks on ChatGPT was it doesn't have any data past, I think it's like September 2021. So I'm just going to go ahead and read. If you're watching on the screen on YouTube, you can see it as well. But Bing Chat is a part of search, while ChatGPT is an isolated interface. And so the biggest difference between them is that Bing Chat is also powered by Microsoft's Prometheus, which is a model that integrates Bing search with the AI tool. And so, I don't know. While I load a couple more things here on the screen, have you played around at all with specifically with the AI chat features in Bing and this integration?
I haven't. Well, one thing is you need Microsoft Edge to use it. And as I was going to play around with it, I realized, okay, none of my devices have that. And so anyways, I didn't quite get around to it, but I did a lot of research on it. And I think it comes with a lot of interesting features that we don't currently see yet in ChatGPT. Something that really stood out to me specifically is within Bing, it has this, it's called like the composition feature. And what you can essentially do is it's almost like an AI writing tool where you can pick the prompt you want. So, are you writing an email? Are you writing a blog post? You can set how long you want it. And you can basically have it then create, if you're writing an email, you can have it write in an email tone and have it spit out an email formatted, writing prompt. And so you can obviously with ChatGPT write an email through it. You can, I know, we've played around with writing blog posts, but it's not as intuitive. You really have to know how to prompt it. Whereas with the composition feature, from how I was seeing it set up, it almost reminded me a little bit of like a tool like Koala, where you can really set parameters for how you want things to be written, what the tone you want to come out, and it's a lot more intuitive and easier to use than it looks like it would be to get that same result from ChatGPT.
It's interesting because I think that this becomes a lot more powerful as they all start to get integrated together. And that's what we talked about a little bit a week or two ago on this podcast. But like, you have to go to ChatGPT to do certain things. And like you talked about, you want to get a blog post out of it. You have to go to ChatGPT. You have to go here. You have to go there. You're kind of bouncing around. And now, Bing is Microsoft's making it so much easier to just do everything in one platform. I was playing around last week, for example, with the Expedia plugin integration, and it's really, it's pretty cool because, usually I'll go to like a Kayak or one of these websites and you're dealing with their filters and you're dealing with playing around with things. And now you can basically just say, hey, I'm looking for a flight on these days to this location. I don't want to have any, I want it to be nonstop. It just breaks it all down for you and stuff. And now with some of the different prompting things you talked about that you brought up that it's able to do, you're going to get a lot more kind of current data, and that can be really great. I as well with you, I did play around a little bit because I have Edge on one of my computers, but it's not it wasn't the computer I was using most of yesterday, so I didn't get to play around with it much.
Yeah. Well, and just something else that I thought was kind of fun and a little bit interesting, and this is kind of coming from like the content perspective, because I know we're always looking for ways to, how do we quickly analyze other articles, see what they're talking about, and then as we're writing our own, or for our agency, like how can we make all those articles better than what's currently out there. And I love how Bing is set up where it's basically it's in the browser, so you can be on an article and have Bing right up next to it, and it can analyze that page right then and there, and it will also show you like key takeaways from that actual article, like Q&As that you should be talking about, key points that were found within it, the overall page topics. I know like the Ahrefs plugin, if you have that open, it can kind of show you like, here's the outline of an article, and it sounds like Bing can kind of do things like that too. Plus, it will also show you related articles to the one you're currently in. So, I mean, that just gets my like wheels spinning for how can we use that to quickly pull key points, key topics from articles online, and then use that as we're writing articles of our own, or, for our clients.
This is why you run operations at a company and our agency, not me. Another example, and then we can kind of move on, because I thought this was pretty cool, to piggyback off your example. Zapier shared this, and I hadn't thought about this example, but I want to share it out loud because I thought it was really cool. It's kind of buried down in the article. We'll include, as we always do, by the way, these articles in the show notes. So if you're driving around, if you're at the gym, or however you kind of consume this, you can always come back if you want to read these articles. But Zapier in its article had a really cool concept. It said, it talked about using multiple plugins in tandem with each other. Which, how cool is this? So it said, for example, you can ask the AI for a recipe recommendation, get an accurate count of calories using the Wolfram plugin, and then ask it to create a shopping list with the Instacart plugin. And it kind of walks you through exactly how to do that. So it's a bit like having a personal assistant, like they say there, in so many ways. So it is fascinating to think, and I mean, we could do entire podcasts, and certainly people talk about a lot about, hey, where could this go for your website, for what you're doing with, your content nowadays. And obviously it's also, very interesting to think about if AI can do this, how are we adding our own unique perspective to content going forward? We kind of had that debate a couple weeks ago, and since we could have it every week, we'll maybe table that debate this week. I'm sure actually, maybe not. Maybe you really do want to get into that debate, but I figure we'll table that for this week.
Yeah, we can. I have thoughts, but we can.
Okay, let's go ahead and dive into the next. Yeah, let's dive into the next topic. We'll go ahead and leave that one aside. So here was an announcement by Google, and I think it got a lot of buzz in the chat this week amongst people who are looking to kind of validate some longstanding beliefs about topical authority. And so Google published on their developer page, their Google Search Central blog, they published an article on Tuesday, May 23rd, under the title of "Understanding News Topic Authority." So basically, this is, to my knowledge, and correct me if you know I'm wrong, but to my knowledge, it's the first time Google has kind of publicly addressed topical authority. It's a concept we've been talking about in the SEO community for many years now. Old school SEOs will talk about how it was a thing a long time ago and has been a thing for a while, but I think it's kind of come in vogue in the last couple years as we've seen fairly clear evidence that topical authority is a thing. This idea that you kind of need to be proving to Google that you're an expert on a certain topic, that you have like a well-rounded and substantiated authority on the topic. So we kind of know this because we see it play itself out in how content ranks, but they finally admitted it. Now, I'll put a caveat. They admitted that it's a thing for news. And so their whole article was about news sites. Now, I'll just go ahead and share my opinion. I think this is just further validating the fact that it does exist, not just in news, but beyond news. A lot of people are saying, well, hey, it's just about news. But basically, let me just read a couple highlights from it, and then I want to get your opinion on it, Kaitlin. How topic authority works. Well, to better surface relevant, expert, and knowledgeable content in search and news, Google developed a system called Topic Authority that helps determine which expert sources are helpful to someone's newsy query. That's a direct quote, newsy query, in certain specialized topic areas, including health, politics, or finance. How Topic Authority works. Number one, how notable a source is for a topic or location. Number two, influence and original reporting. And number three, source reputation. All right. Topical Authority, does this change anything about how you feel about it? Do you feel validated now in your beliefs about Topical Authority? Do you think this extends beyond that? What do you think?
Yeah, well, it's interesting. I was looking at this a little bit, and on Twitter, I think it was on the like Google Search Liaison account. Like they shared, they're like, we've had this ranking system in place for a while. We've used this for several years, and we're just now starting to share about it publicly. Because at first, when the way that they worded this article, it sounded like it was this brand new thing that they were bringing forward. And other people in Twitter commented too. They're like, well, why did you word it like this? Because it sounds like this brand new thing that you're releasing. And they were like, no, like we've had this, we've used this system. And because at first, I was like, oh shoot, like do we need to now rethink about even just in general, like EEAT and all these various efforts we've done to really try to show our expertise, our authority, get Google's trust. And then when I read that they are really just now publicly sharing about it, I actually don't really think I would change too much about what we're doing as an organization or how we look at expertise, authority, all the EEAT factors. I do think, though, with them coming public about it and really sharing about it, in my opinion, just solidifies like you have to be putting an effort regardless of if you're a news site or just a niche site. Like these are things that are not going away, and Google is now coming out saying like, hey, this is important, and so you can't not be doing these things at this point. That's what I think.
Yeah, news is notoriously tricky, right? When you think about it from an algorithm standpoint, like we can publish a piece of content and we can understand that it takes a long time for that content to rank, but the more authoritative we are, the quicker it will usually rank. And that kind of lines up. You're like, oh yeah, some people can publish an article and it ranks in a day. Some people it takes 6 months. It has a lot to do with how much Google trusts your website, but news has to be reported in the minute. And Google doesn't have time to kind of run through your article and make sure that it checks all the boxes, test it, see how the user metrics are, look at the bounce. Like they got to kind of figure out what's going on in real time with these news articles. So yeah, I mean, to your point, this kind of feels like when you're in your friend circle and you got two people and you're like, boy, they sure seem like they've got a thing going, and then you see them some more and you're like, I don't know, I'm not too good at this, but I'm pretty sure they got a thing going. And then like a couple months later, they make this big announcement, like they're surprising the world, and they're like a couple, and you're like, well, I knew that all along. Now you just validated it for me.
Yeah, that's what this feels like a lot. And I don't know if this is like straying like too far or too deep, but like I'd be curious, like within niche sites, how you could create a niche site about like a specific location, maybe it's like San Diego beaches is your topic. And obviously that's not a news site, but kind of with what they've shared about trying to provide relevant information based on your location. I would be kind of curious if sites that are more location specific in a niche world would begin to rank higher because they are tied to a location and really serving the purpose of what somebody's search intent is. So one more thing I kind of thought was interesting, or maybe this is kind of going down a rabbit trail, but how there can be kind of like niche websites that are more location based. Say you're doing like San Diego beaches.com is your website, not a news site, but it is more focused on location. And with this announcement, Google was talking about how they're looking for notable sources from specific locations. So I would be curious if websites like that started coming up higher in the SERPs because they are more of an expert on a specific location. And even if they are a smaller site, do they end up ranking higher because of this or not? Again, I don't have any data to say one way or another, but it's just something I kind of thought of as I saw the announcement come through.
Yeah, it's nice when Google says be an authority, but the next question is, okay, well, are you redefining what authority looks like, or topical authority looks like, or are you kind of just acknowledging what we all already know? But anyways, well, there you have it. Topical authority in the news this week. Hey, so let's move on. We got another fun one here. This is video. This has to do with video. Now, there's a lot going on when it comes to video this week with Google. They certainly had a couple of issues that really have transcended a couple weeks now, and so I kind of want to build this. I want to build this thing up. So there's a couple of things. They're not necessarily related, but they're all related to video in general. So that's why I wanted to bring them up here. So first, we have an acknowledged Google search bug that caused a drop in video traffic between May 4th and May 17th. So it's caused sites to get less traffic to their video content. Google has confirmed this bug. It was not just a Google Search Console reporting bug, but a bug with actual search. So they shared a bug caused a drop in video traffic from blah, 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 has been resolved. This article asked if it was just a reporting error. No, it wasn't. If you publish a lot of video content, you might have seen a drop in the content and the traffic from it. If you suspected it was just a bug, sounds like it's more than that. It really was a drop in traffic. Now, this kind of coincided in many ways with a lot of other drama that developed in the video world. And this is not specifically video traffic related. So I first caught up on this with Luke Jordan, who we've had on the podcast before. And he shared on May 21st on Twitter, he said, Google's video thumbnails now only appear next to Google search results when the video is the main content of a page change. And he shared an example from Google Search Console. And let me now share the article that Google did end up publishing about this. I am balancing a lot of screens here, and this way I can actually read to you what they shared. So this one is related to video being the main content to appear as a thumbnail. So again, the bug was related to actual clicks from video search. This is not related to thumbnails, okay? And we know that video has been increasing in the SERPs in the form of thumbnails a lot over the last couple of years. And so this was announced back in the mid-April, but I think maybe this week a lot of buzz was created around people discovering it. So now when a video isn't the main content, now Google won't show it as a thumbnail. And according to Google's testing, it shows that it will have a minimal impact on publishers. Now, there's a good amount of debate about how much impact it's actually having. Luke and others were sharing that it's going to, cost them tens of thousands of dollars because of the drop in clicks that are coming. Lily Ray, who we've also had on the podcast, shared that she actually dove into it, and while Google Search Console makes it look really bad, the pages themselves didn't actually lose any traffic. GSC is more just reporting on the SERP appearance now. So anyways, there's a lot going on around this. You can go into your Google Search Console and see it, but if you just go click on performance and then video, you won't see any of this. You have to have performance still be web, but then go set up a specific filter for appearance videos. That was a mouthful. I had to actually prepare in advance to share all that. I'm not sure I did a great job, but did I make at least some reasonable amount of sense about what we're dealing with in the video world and the news this week?
Yeah, you definitely did. Long story short, thumbnails, the little YouTube thumbnails, if you had a video in your article, it may not show that thumbnail anymore if your video is not the main piece of content in the article. Brings up a lot of questions.
What makes a video the main piece of content in an article? Because typically a video will never be the main piece of content in an article, at least not in my mind. That's why it's an article. If it was just going to be a video, then you just go put it on YouTube, right?
100%. And I also wonder, how long does, like, what if you made a longer video in the article? Is that going to stand a better chance of Google thinking, okay, well, this has a really long 15-20 minute video, so we're going to include that thumbnail? Or I was reading, people were saying maybe if you position the video
Yeah,
higher in the
that's what
article,
I was going to say.
then
You move it up higher. You now put it up where where your answer target used to be, maybe.
Yep, or it maybe if you optimize your video schema better, then your thumbnail will also show up. So there's all these like different, questions, and Google's very vague on what is and is not going to cause a thumbnail to show up anymore.
I mean, I think the best way to look at it, and I haven't done this analysis, frankly, I'm kind of hoping somebody else would for me, but I think the best way to maybe look at it is maybe go look at queries that are related to your website, see who is still showing up in video thumbnail, and then go analyze those pages and try to draw the correlations that exist between what Google is saying is makes video the main subject, and then determine if you want to go to that extreme, to that length. I mean, Lily Ray has a decent point in that it's probably important to analyze how much traffic this could be costing you. And is it, I remember when, and I think she referenced this, I might have gotten this from her, but I do remember when FAQ snippets were going through their little run in GSC before they broke them off into their own section, basically. And that was really, really ruining data in there because it was giving you all sorts of false positives and false negatives. So, there's an element that says, hey, make sure that this isn't just much ado about nothing or very little. But yeah, I would think that if the best way for us to figure it out is just to kind of go analyze what's going on in the SERPs these days and try to create some correlations there.
Yeah, and something else when I saw this come out is I kind of thought, just from like our agency perspective and working with clients, we've been making a big effort, especially over the last year, to create more videos with clients and have them include videos in their articles. And, I'm thinking, okay, well, with this change in the SERPs, like, would this stop us now from wanting to add video or create video altogether for and with clients? And as I think about it, like, I don't think so. I think, yeah, it's great if a thumbnail shows up, but there are so many other benefits of adding video to your articles. And, it increases all of your EEAT factors. Along with that, you're starting to build a YouTube channel and getting subscribers over there. For monetization, if you're monetizing your pages, it keeps people on your pages longer. So there are so many other benefits to video that, yeah, while this is a bummer, I don't think this would stop us from changing our video strategy, at least right now.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I mean, maybe on a client by client basis, if somebody is really impacted, but I don't think across the board it does change much. So, okay, I think this is our final news item of the week. We got a lot of news this week. You came on a busy week. Let's see. This one is more on your camp too. I'm going to turn it over to you while I share my screen, and let's talk about Google Bard and their new position on images.
Yeah. So this one I think is kind of fun, but Bard is now including images in the responses when it is relevant. So if you put in a query that maybe images would be helpful for the results, Bard will place those in. Not only that will it include the image, but it will also show you the source of it, and you can click on it to then go to that source and see the article. And their reasoning behind doing this, and I'll just read what they said, but they basically said images can help you communicate your ideas more effectively. They can bring concepts to life, make recommendations more persuasive, and enhance responses when you ask for visual information. So, again, they're starting to put images at the forefront, and showing images are very important. Now, I decided to do a little bit of just testing here. So I had Google Bard open, and I just went with the topic, I just did landscaping ideas for my small backyard because I wanted to see just, hey, like what's going to pop up if you type something in like that. And so within Bard, it came up with like 7 or 8 ideas, and each idea had an image associated with it, kind of like you see in the screen you're sharing here.
Mm-hmm.
Which I was like, okay, that's cool. It then got me thinking, if I type in that same query into Google, what's going to pop up? And for those images that were showing up in Bard, are those the websites that are then on page 1 of Google? And so I
Oh,
put in, just because I'm thinking, I'm like, okay, if somebody's getting linked out to in Bard and you click on it, like, is that a different source of traffic, or are you also already on page 1 of Google? And so anyways, it typed in that same query, and in Bard, their first idea that Bard shared was like create a focal point in your backyard, and their example was using fire pits. And they linked out to a site, it's called like blessmyweeds.com, and that's what the image was from. On Google, when you search landscaping ideas for my small backyard, that website is nowhere to be found. So
interesting.
yeah, and now I
Did you
will
do
say
image search as well? Did you search image search or a web search?
I just did web search just because typically that's how I would search for something still in Google. I do use image search every now and then, but I just kind of wanted to compare, if I was going to ask
Mm-hmm.
this on Google, how would I ask it? So now I will say the
Mm.
Bless My Weeds article, it was about fire pits because the idea that Bard was showing was a fire pit idea. So it was linking out to an article that Bless My Weeds had about all these fire pit ideas. But anyways, it made me realize like, okay, so there could be some value here in putting an emphasis more on your images and really making an effort to have good, unique images, because clearly Bard is looking for them and it's pulling things that Google isn't and putting those in their answers that you can't find necessarily on Google. So I have so many ideas with that, but I thought that was a little bit interesting that they're showing different things already. Okay, so now
It
you
is so
have the Google
fascinating.
images. Yeah.
I have Google Images up, and I don't see, bless my weeds or whatever. Is that the query you had? Landscape ideas for a small backyard or something like that?
Yep. Yeah. Yep. That's exactly what I had.
Yeah. So I see a lot of the big players here in image search as well. Better Homes and Gardens, HGTV, Forbes, because of course a business magazine has a lot of value to add in that
Obviously.
regard. Sorry, I digress. House, The Spruce, Bob Villa. These are the ones. Sunset Magazine. These are the big ones. And yet, what you're saying is that for a query that a smaller website would have a very hard time ranking for, whether in image search or regular web search, Bard pulled them in.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I don't know. Maybe they're actually doubling down on their experience factor. Maybe they're tweaking their algorithm in Bard. It's hard to know. But if you're a web publisher out there, I agree with you. That's a cool announcement, but certainly an interesting angle. You and I both have a long history in the photo department, in the photo world, so I know that that's of particular interest to us.
Yeah, and I know we've lately been putting more of an effort into images, and then, man, now I'm like, oh gosh, we need to just do a whole image project for every site, for every client, because I think there's a lot of potential here. But anyways, I thought that was kind of a fun announcement.
All right. Well, we are well over time on our news section, and great job. You brought your A game, and thank you for adding all that value. I have to transition us though to our next section of the news, and those regular listeners, you'll probably understand that's kind of the 3 phases we walk through here on these Friday news specials. But if you're new, we talk about the week's news. Usually, that's at least a half to 3/4 of what we talk about, but we do talk about shiny objects we're working on, otherwise known as shiny object shenanigans. And then I feel like a news producer here. Don't go anywhere because we still have our weird niche of the week. And That's probably my favorite part of the week. So talk about Mai Tai guy, sending cat facts, sleeping in airports, looking for treasure. It's great. But I wanted to let you know that today's episode is sponsored by Search Intelligence. Here's a short clip of Ferry from Search Intelligence showing you how their agency built digital PR links to a client's website.
In this video, I will show you how we landed a placement on BBC and dozens of links in massive regional online publications such as Where's Online, Daily Post, and many more. This PR campaign was about the easiest place to pass your driving test for the first time in the UK. This is how we've done it. We simply went to DVLA website, found the latest car driving test data by test center, and downloaded the data in a CSV format. Once we had the data, all we had to do is to look at the number of total tests per test center, then look at the number of first time passes to calculate the percentage of people who passed their test for the first time. Once we had the percentage numbers, we created a press release with our findings. Then we went to Roxhill and found journalists who talk about driving tests, and also looked for journalists who write in regional publications in the UK. In total, we have found about 1,800 journalists and sent them our press release by email. Within less than a day, our story got picked up by BBC, Cornwall Live, Wales Online, and dozens of other publications in the UK, providing our client a tsunami of backlinks perfectly relevant to the audience of the client, who is a specialist in learner driver car insurance. I hope this video is helpful and it shows you how you can also build links with freely available data from official sources.
If you want similar link building PR campaigns for your website, head to search-intelligence.co.uk and get in touch with them now. So let's talk about shiny object syndrome. So I'm going to go first, and then I'm really curious to hear about yours. This is the 12th week since we launched Weekend Growth and the newsletter. And 12 weeks ago, I basically said we weren't doing this podcast yet. But 12 weeks ago, I started and said, I'm going to give myself 12 weeks or 3 months to reach 1,000 subscribers on a brand new newsletter. Those who've been listening have heard me talk about this in and out every single week. Well, those 12 weeks are up, so I thought I'd kind of put to rest this shiny object syndrome, kind of talk about how it progressed. Kaitlin, obviously you were very involved in all this because this was a company effort, so you could probably chime in on some of this, but I was about to say I pulled some stats. No, I didn't. You did. I asked you if you could get some good stats here. So I'm trying to take credit where it's not due. But anyways, let's just kind of recap what we did. So the goal was to hit 1,000 subscribers. We are yesterday when you shared this, we were at 1,287 subscribers. Let's see, we sent 15,441 emails over the course of those 12 weeks. That's a lot. That seems a little higher than I thought we were going to get after 12 weeks. There were 6,896 opens, and so that puts the open rate at 44.67% on average. Now, I will caveat the reason that send number is high and then the open number is lower is because, and I think this was on your advice, we basically would resend the email 2 or 3 days later to everyone who didn't open the email. And we changed the subject line and resend that email. And those always performed a lot worse because people who didn't open your first email are much more likely to not open your second email. Although we would get like 20 to 25% open rates on those second sends, but typically that first send is getting like 50 to 60% open rate.
Yeah, we definitely saw lower open rates on those later emails that were sent out that were basically the resend of the first one. But overall, just from an email marketing perspective, I'm very pleased with how this did. Having a 44% open rate on a brand new email platform that we're working with here for Weekend Growth, that's a very respectable open rate, I would say, and I think people are pretty engaged, at least from those numbers, in what we're doing.
And it wasn't really a part of the initial kind of goal, but I thought I'd share a couple of the numbers. Like in the process, we were taking the emails and we started publishing them back to Weekend Growth growth.com back to the website, like as a blog post. And I mean, I'd say they're mildly optimized. Like we at least took the email and like tried to come up with a couple of H2s out of it, but that's about the extent of it. Like they are not optimized for search. I don't even think we came up really with a keyword for most of them. We just kind of published it as it is. But in the last 30 days, weekendgrowth.com has gotten 6,579 page views. Again, like given that it's only a couple of month old website, 855 of those were from organic search. It's picked up some nice links. I wonder if you knew this. Did you know Weekend Growth is a DR23?
No, I feel like last time I checked, it was like a
Yeah.
DR12. Wow. I'm
I feel like
impressed.
last time I checked it was a DR2. I mean, and then we also started sharing some YouTube videos and started a YouTube account. So that has 261 subscribers, and last 30 days has 4,800 views on those videos. So, anyways, I mean, yeah. So I'm gonna have to find a new shiny object to share starting next week, I think, because that was kind of that 12-week sprint there. But I thought I'd just share the kind of recap, and going forward, I'll probably just share periodic updates on here as we go. I will say we haven't really come up with a good plan going forward. It was always about those first 12 weeks and then reevaluating, and I haven't had a chance to reevaluate. So maybe with a cup of coffee tomorrow, I'll sit down and think some more about it. We'll bounce some ideas off each other. But anyways, that's my update. What's going on in Kaitlin's shiny object world?
So I will admit this was near impossible to come up with, mostly because every shiny object I'm working on is an idea you had and you want me to execute it and go. I think Weekend Growth Newsletter is a great example. Like, you had this great idea, somebody needed to execute it, so I became the person to execute. So
Yeah, there's an element of truth there. There's an element of truth there.
and don't get me wrong, I love it. I think that's why we work so well together. But when you're like, oh yeah, come up with like some like pastime thing you're working on, I'm like, I do not have anything. And so I'll admit you kind of sparked the idea for mine, and I was like, oh, I do actually have something. So I have, I guess going back a little bit, how I mentioned that you and I worked together. I interned at your photography studio way back in college, and that kind of sparked me to start up my own photography business, wedding photography business. And so started that up kind of at the end of college, and I've been really running it ever since probably February, March-ish of this year. So I had a wedding photography business. My husband and I, we moved from San Diego to Tennessee, and in moving and in planning to move, I realized like I am not going to continue shooting weddings out there, get a whole new clientele, referral base. That's a lot of work. So in kind of thinking through things, talking, Jared, with you, it was kind of like, well, why not turn that into an affiliate site and take, you know, the knowledge that I have in the photography world. And wow, those ads look awful. And anyways,
We've got it up on the screen if you're watching on YouTube. If you're not, we'll share the URL for it.
Sorry. Yeah, I realize not everybody's seeing it on screen. But basically, I'm now in the process of converting this from a photography website where people can book me to shoot their weddings into an affiliate website where I share advice and tips for brides and grooms as they're planning or getting engaged and basically going through the whole wedding journey. And I thought that that would be a good transition. Yeah, just from shooting hundreds of weddings and having that expertise, and also getting married in the last couple of years and really understanding what couples are going through these days. I thought I could bring kind of a unique perspective. So it's very much a work in progress. There's a lot of things on there that are still focused on the business side, and I need to transition all of those things out and replace it more with, hey, this is, you know, an educational site and not something where you can book me to shoot your wedding anymore.
That's so interesting. So yeah, taking a website that was a service-based website and transition it to what is a content marketing, content affiliate website. Um, I mean, it feels exactly like what a lot of people do with age domains, right? Like, you'll pick up an age domain. It used to be for a local business about whatever, and then you kind of build a content site out of it that
Mhm.
stays within the same lane. So in theory, I think it should work great. So is it making any money? Is it, where are you at in that whole process of kind of transitioning it like you talked about?
Yeah, so if you're watching on screen, you saw there were ads. So I'm on Ezoic. I need to talk to them about fixing where the ads are showing up and what they look like. But I am on Ezoic, and then I'm also on Amazon Associates. So I checked a couple of days ago, and I will be completely honest, I have put no effort into this site probably in the last at least 3 or 4 months. I did update my about page just to share with people like what I'm doing now. But other than that, I wrote articles here and there last year, got those monetized, but other than that, I've done very, very little. So again, if I had time, if I wasn't working on all of Jared's shiny objects, I could spend more time on this. Um, but no. So, anyways, I make anywhere between like 25 and $50 on Amazon, which is very, very little. But I also have done nothing in the last few months. Also, if you look on Ahrefs, it is like a roller coaster. I've gotten hit with updates, and so it's just all over the map. So I'm actually surprised it's making anything right now, to be honest. Um,
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. Like, that's one of those things where probably until you fully transition the site, Google is just going to be pretty confused by what the heck's going on. And even
yeah,
even once you do, it's going to take some time, in theory, for Google to kind of say this is no longer a local business that services photography. This is a website that helps people make decisions about photography. So yeah, you probably,
yeah.
it makes sense.
So yeah, it's
Well,
making a
good.
little bit, but oh yeah, I was
I
just saying
think
it's.
it's great. I think
Mhm.
you just got to carve. I mean, moving didn't help either. To be clear, it's not just
No,
me and all my ideas.
it's true.
Moving across the country probably killed some of the available time for that project as well. But I'll take the hit. It's fine. I tend to agree. Uh, well, good. If we have you back on, we'll want to hear some updates. So let this be a good charge for you to start working now. So the next time you hop back into a news episode, you can report some big things.
Yeah, that's a good point. This is my sign to go.
So it is that time for us to transition into weird niches. Now, this has always been a favorite of mine. I feel like this one's growing in popularity. I'm starting to see people talking about the different weird niches we're coming up with, and I think that in general, it's been pretty fun to try to find these. So I will say at the outset, because we don't really talk about it much, sometimes these things are hard to find. So again, just a reminder, if you have any weird niches you've run across, please don't hesitate to email them to me and not Spencer. So no, I'm just kidding. Feel free to send them, share them in comments or anything like that, and we'll find a way to bring them about. I'm going to go ahead and start actually with yours. I'm going to bring yours up on the screen here, and let's go ahead and talk about it. It is, I'll let you go ahead and talk about it actually.
Okay. So this is holdthemagic.com, and this is all about the tooth fairy. So a little bit of backstory on this website is it was created by a mom, and her daughter had lost her first tooth when she was like 6 years old, and she wanted to give her daughter something other than money. One, because her daughter didn't care about money, and two, her daughter was really into like the whole leprechaun fairies, and so she was like, it doesn't make sense to say it's coming from a tooth fairy, because money doesn't exist in these magical worlds. So she wanted to give her daughter something that would come from like fairies or a magical land. And her daughter loved it. She then did it for her son and like her 13 nieces and nephews. And they just all loved the idea of getting all these different little tokens from fairies. And she started building this website. And so now you can see it's like a DR14. I think it gets about 5,000 visits a month. It has about 3,000 keywords on the website. But really, what she does and how I am seeing that she makes money is she just sells these tooth fairy gifts. Very popular. She has like these gift sets with 3 gifts for like $29.95, and those seem to kind of be like her popular items that she sells. And the other way I think she's making money is she has an influencer program, so people can sign up to be influencers, share
Oh.
on social media, because they have a decent social media following. I think they have like 4,500 Instagram followers. They've started a YouTube channel. They're on TikTok now. So they're definitely playing the social media route too, to get more followers and aka get more sales, and find ways to include influencers to also share about these gifts that they're selling for kids for losing their teeth.
I also see that they're covertly, so I couldn't find in the menu anything about their blog. And I'm like, are they building content around this? Or is this literally just a shop, a storefront?
Mm-hmm.
But lo and behold, the deeper we dive here on the homepage, they are publishing content on when my child can brush and floss. So definitely like taking this idea of tooth topical authority and really running with it.
Yeah. Yeah, it took me a while too to find the blog, but from what I could see, I don't think they are monetizing the blog like through ads, at least that I could see. I probably should have gone into like Inspect Element a little more to see if they had anything, but there's no ads that popped up when I was searching through it. So I feel
Yeah, it
like,
looks like they're pretty much just they're using it to
hmm
drive to their own product links is what it looks like.
yeah. So they could probably make a little
Oh,
bit
there we
more money
go.
though. Oh
We
yeah.
also have, what is this? Is this a printable, a chart printable?
Yeah, look at that. So yeah, they have like fun little downloads. They have accounts so you
Aha.
can clearly like log into and create an account. I don't know if they have more on the back end for people who are like members or have an account with them. Um, I also found out that they go to dentistry conferences, and so there's like the American Academy of Pediatric Dentistry conference coming up, I think, in a couple of weeks. And so they have a booth there. And so they're encouraging people to like come and visit their booth. And I'm assuming that they must sell them on something, because otherwise, why would you pay to have a booth at one of these conferences other than for maybe awareness? But that could be another way too, that maybe they're trying to connect with dentists and somehow get integrated into like dentist offices. I don't know, but it's
That
uh,
that's interesting. Actually, if that's where they're going with it, I suppose I don't really think of the dentist and losing teeth, tooth fairy type stuff related, even though obviously they are in many ways. That's very interesting.
yeah. So I don't know. It doesn't look like they're making money like the standard like niche website way, with ads, and they're not, from what I could see, like selling Amazon products. It looks like they're only selling things that they're creating or it's coming from them. So, uh, but yeah, all about the tooth fairy.
I mean, they've got a lot going. If you're talking about how they have a website, we
Mm-hmm.
saw a blog. You said they're active on social. They clearly have their own shop with a lot of different products from what we saw. They're networking with other dentists. We saw like a lead generation downloadable, a printable. If you want to download a printable, you can, and you got to get their email, give them your email, and then get on the list. So they're doing a lot of the things that we would encourage like a brand to do, right? More than just, hey, throw up an affiliate link and call it a day. So yeah, that's a good find. I would be so curious to hear how much they're making. You have no
I
idea how much
know.
their product sales are doing. I mean, it could be thousands, it could be tens of thousands, it could be they could be making 6 figures a month. I mean, it's just still hard to say. I mean, I guess
Yeah.
with a website that's with the kind of organic traffic they get, it would have to become, if they're making a lot, it'd have to come from more social and direct traffic then, because you're probably not making a ton off of that kind of organic traffic, but hard to say.
Yeah, I will say is a final thing, they had a decent backlink profile, and looking at them through Ahrefs, picked up by some bigger news type websites. They also had tons of Pinterest links. So clearly they're going also getting traction on Pinterest, and some bigger news sites are picking up, probably because it is a very unique niche to be in.
Yeah.
So that could also be helping to drive traffic and sales.
Well, very good. Let's hit up my weird niche. Now, I will say that this one, normally when I find a website in a weird niche, it's the only website in the weird niche. That's kind of what makes it weird. Like Mai Tai Guy is, to my knowledge, the only guy blogging exclusively about his journey with Mai Tais, for example. But what's interesting about this is that I actually found quite a few websites that were focused on this topic. I just kind of picked one of them, and that is Treehouse Trips. So this is a website. It's treehousetrippers.com, and it is 100% dedicated to finding a good treehouse to rent for a vacation.
I love
Now,
this.
I don't know
So
about
good.
you. To my knowledge, I've never stayed in a treehouse before on vacation. And I can assure you that I've never actively looked for a treehouse to stay in on vacation. As a matter of fact, I think the last time I thought about a treehouse was when I was 10. But this is proof that there's an entire niche all around tree houses. Now, this website in particular is, well, let me share some of the stats of it. I'm not able to bring Ahrefs up right now. It logged me out, and I can't get logged in while we're watching me look off camera for a little while. I was trying to get myself logged back in, and
I
that
think I
didn't
have the
happen. So
basic
I can't share
stats.
the Ahrefs on. Oh yeah, good. Yeah, luckily we did document them ahead of time. So it's a DR15. We've got about 12,000 keywords that it ranks for. It is getting 12,000 organic searches a month in terms of traffic. That's Ahrefs, so it's probably underreporting. Probably getting more than that. Now, of note, it did used to be at 40,000, so it has taken a hit here in a couple of algorithm updates. But a couple of things they're doing really well. So first off, looking on screen here, we're looking at the 17 best tree houses in Missouri for a romantic cabin getaway. Now that is a long tail search query right there.
Wow.
That's yeah. We're not just talking about tree houses. We're talking about the best tree houses, specifically in the state of Missouri, and specifically for a romantic cabin that's in a tree house. But as you read this, like it's not like a programmatic play like you might expect. Or if it is, they're doing a killer job at it, because that was maybe my first thought was, if you're producing this long tail of content, like you've got to be doing it programmatically, right? Where basically all the text is about the same, but you're just bringing in stats about Missouri specifically. But it really does appear to be written specifically for that query. They have a very nice graphic here that looks like it's a pinnable image. And then to me, what's most interesting about this is that they are linking out to various booking agents, and they are obviously using affiliate links for that. And so we'll see here, we have a booking.com link. I know booking.com is fairly lucrative. Here we have a TripAdvisor link. I don't know. That does not appear to be a affiliate link. I also saw affiliate links to VRBO. I looked up that. That's paying about a 2% commission, which doesn't sound great, but if someone books $1,000 getaway weekend, that's $20. So that's not terrible. I'll stop talking. What are your thoughts on tree houses in general and this website?
I mean, tree houses in general. I do remember growing up, my dad built my brother and I a tree house, and we loved it. And I will say, actually, in the last year, we've had a couple of friends who have specifically gone on vacation to stay in tree houses. So I don't know if it's like this
Okay.
like new
Am I
trend.
too old for this? Is that what you're saying?
Maybe you're too old, but it does seem as more lately I've heard more and more people wanting to stay in tree houses. And I will admit, I have actually looked at various vacations like, oh, it would be cool to stay in a tree house. And so I've done my fair share of research too on like cool tree houses to stay in. So I
So
find
I
this.
have
Go Go ahead.
I have Tennessee up. You said you guys just moved to Tennessee. So here we have the 15 incredible treehouse rentals in Gatlinburg, Tennessee. Have you been to Gatlinburg yet?
Yes, actually, it's about an hour away from where we live.
Well, it looks beautiful. Now, I'd like to say that as I scan through these pictures here on the screen, and again, if you're not watching, no problem. We'll include a link for this in the notes. You can go look. But as I'm scanning away here, like this does not hit me as a tree house as much as these are houses that have trees around them. Am I, in my old age, am I missing what a tree house is nowadays?
No, and I will say my friends who have stayed in tree houses, they are legit like in the trees. So
Yeah.
I would agree with you. These are houses that maybe are built surrounded by trees, or maybe there's a tree incorporated like on the side of it, but these are not your classic tree house.
Well, I mean, to their credit, maybe, I mean, even though you say that your friends have many friends have been looking for tree houses, I can't imagine there's dozens of tree houses to pick from in Gatlinburg, Tennessee. So, I feel like it's okay that they might be stretching what a tree house is a little bit. Man, I'd be fascinated to, I mean, that's not bad traffic that they're getting organically. Didn't see if they had any search traffic or anything else, but, clearly they're doing a good job, like really narrowing down and taking what people are searching for. Like, man, I want a treehouse romantic getaway in Gatlinburg, Tennessee, and then they're targeting that, and then assuming that somebody clicks on a link and books through them, they're probably making not bad. And again, I saw a bunch of these. There's a bunch of people building websites all about tree houses, so clearly it's a thing.
It's popular, I'm telling you. Yeah, I mean, kudos to them for building a whole site around it. I would be curious if they are taking more of an automated approach to writing all that content, and they could probably, if they're not, like, they should start trying to source like unique images for their website and reaching out to people who have stayed in these tree houses to get more of the unique images. I'm just thinking of like all the things we talked about today, and like so many little things that they could do, or create little videos and it's like a tour of these tree houses, or actually going and staying in them and trying to monetize their site more. But yeah, I think the site is pretty cool, and it looks like they're doing pretty good. I'd be curious how much they're currently making on it.
Yeah, you're right. Talk about full circle. That website almost blended so many of the news items we talked about, between Bard and image search, between topical authority, between some of your research with ChatGPT, or I think this was my research, ChatGPT
Yeah.
and booking, Expedia. Man, so full circle there. So, well, Kaitlin, great job. Thanks for joining on This Week in the News. I hope you enjoyed it. I know that you typically don't love to get on podcasts very often, so I'm glad I was able to twist your arm into coming on this one today.
Yeah, normally you're the face and, I'm the operations. So it's weird to be, on camera doing this, but this was fun. Thanks for inviting me. I had a lot of fun here.
Good. Well, until we see you again next time on the podcast, I'm sure I'll talk to you later today on some meeting that we're in. But thanks for joining This Week in News, you guys. We love doing these. They are fun to not only talk about what's going on in the news this week, but also share some shiny objects and some weird niches. And again, especially on the shiny object and weird niche side, really is a way to kind of encourage, motivate, give you ideas, keep the wheels spinning. If you're not signed up for the newsletter, you can go to nichepursuits.com/newsletter. We have this podcast on Fridays, but we also have the weekly podcast with the interviews that goes out on Wednesday, and just a ton of other valuable content that gets shared in that email. So make sure you get signed up. But until next time, everyone, have a great weekend.
Bye.
Today's episode is sponsored by Search Intelligence. Here's a short clip of Ferry from Search Intelligence showing you how their agency built digital PR links to a client's website.
What a masterpiece PR link building campaign, with 20 links in big publications such as The Sun, Express, Mirror, Wales Online, and still landing. I would say this campaign is a massive success. We told the press that people should turn on their heating this summer if they want to save money next winter. And we landed over 20 links in national and regional UK publications for our boiler client. That's crazy. The campaign hook was pretty clever. It is a known fact, at least in the boiler trade, that if you keep your boiler off for many months, it might rust and it might get you into trouble if you keep it turned off from spring to next winter. We therefore advise the press, with an expert commentary piece, on behalf of our boiler client, that people should turn on their boilers this summer just when the heat wave is in full swing. This way they can avoid a boiler failure next winter and save money. Massive publications picked up our story, including The Sun, Express, Mirror, Wales Online, and a few more dozen publications, giving our client links, lots of links, and lots of happiness hormones. No wonder that so many journalists covered our story, as this headline is a massive link magnet to their audience. This case study highlights the fact that a clever hook can be applied to any insight or story to make a campaign more successful and more compelling to journalists. Can you imagine when people see this headline in the news, "You should turn on your boiler this summer"? There's no way they would not click on it. I would click on it. So this was the hook, and this is why this campaign was so successful. I hope this video inspires and shows you what's possible with a clever hook.
If you want similar link building PR campaigns for your website, head to search-intelligence.co.uk and get in touch with them now.